Hi, hello everyone. I know I'm late this evening. How are you? I hope you had a great day. One more day, right? One more work day, and then it's the weekend. Um, I'm late this evening. This live stream was actually supposed to be, let me make sure. Great. And my volume is up. This live stream was actually supposed to happen at 6:30, but um, I got a little bit tied up at my 9 to 5, and I actually just got home. I actually just got home, and so I know some of you were waiting for the live stream. You've been listening all week, and um, it's important that I keep my commitment, right? Important that I keep that commitment to you and to the process. So here we go. I'm going to jump into it. So for the entire week, I've been, since last week, I've been bringing you, some talk, some chat, some sharing some thoughts and ideas around being in a leadership role. Let me introduce myself. My name is Waveney. I am a leadership coach. I help new managers develop leadership influence by mastering their relationships at work and leveraging their communication skills. One second. I think this is much better. The lighting is a bit off. Anywho, one day I'll get it right. And so new managers are at risk. If you're a new manager, if you're new in your role, you are at risk because at this point, you really need to invest in your growth and development. Your What got you to that position, the skills, the the experiences you've had that got you that position are not the ones that are going to make you successful. And so this is where I come in. I come in because I want to support you on your journey. I really believe and I really love helping persons get to the next level. I really love seeing people elevate. Um, I love all things growth and development. And so this evening, I'm going to speak to you imitation, about imitating. Imitation can have you sending the wrong message. So, my question to you is, are you sending the wrong message? Maybe you're imitating someone because in our quest to be better leaders, in our quest to really be successful in our roles, sometimes are not, we don't have a solid foundation and we are picking up habits that don't serve us well. And sometimes those habits are imitating someone. So you just maybe at of the opinion that, listen, this is somebody I like, this is somebody I emulate, this is somebody I look up to, and I am going to just really follow closely what they do, and hopefully I'm gonna be as successful. I'm gonna imitate them. That's what you're really saying. So it might be your manager. You might have a manager or a leader, and you might say, you know what, I'm gonna follow them closely. You may not even ask some, really get deep with the questioning. Um, but you like a particular trait in them, you like a particular behavior, you realize that it is getting a result, and you decide that's what you're going to do, right? So, for example, you might say, okay, this person is really confident because this is something that new managers struggle with. They struggle with being confident in their roles for many reasons, right? Or just struggle with being confident within themselves. And so you may think, okay, this person is really confident. I'm going to just kind of look and take notes as to how they're getting it done, right? And so you realize that they speak, maybe they're presenting, because that's part of being a leader. You have to make presentations, um, and you're looking to see what they're doing, right? Or someone may seem to appear aloof, right? Very distant, but they seem to command some sort of respect from others. They don't seem to be like you can't get too close, but um but they command the respect of other people. And so you may be thinking, hey, I want to be like that. I'm going to try that, right? I haven't really sidebar drink any water for the day. This is not a good practice, by the way. Um, and so here's the problem with this. The number one problem with this is that you are not being authentic. You're not being authentic. And when it comes to being a new manager, when it comes to leadership, you need to be authentic. When you're not authentic, people um, don't feel comfortable with you. People don't feel comfortable with you, and that's a problem. And that's a problem because if people don't feel comfortable with you, then they're not going to open up to you. They're not going to connect with you. You're going to come across as a fraud, as a fake. You don't want that in your leadership. You don't want that to be said of you. So when you imitate sometimes people, you are not being authentic. Okay. I strongly believe that you can use your own personality. You can, be yourself and be an effective leader. There just may be some things that smell here. Thought it was something crawling on me. um, there just may be some things that you need to work on, but tighten up, whatever. But for the most part, people just to feel, want you to be yourself because in being yourself, in being authentic, you give others permission to be that way, right? And so that's the problem with imitating people. You're not being authentic. Um, you are imitating somebody with the hopes that it will work for you. You are trying to use their formula to work for you. It doesn't really work like that. Um, you you're not infusing your own personality into your leadership style, right? And so because you don't have the tools, because you don't have the foundation, because you're imitating someone and that's just what you're doing. Um, as a result, like I said before, you may see someone speaking confidently, commanding the attention of others. And so you may try that. In your quest to imitate, you may try that confidence thing, right? That you saw Jim or Keisha or some whoever, right, do. But as a result, here's what happened. Because you're imitating them, it comes across like you're condescending, right? It comes across when you do it, it comes across, it doesn't have the same effect. It comes across like you're talking down to people. For example, okay? Are you commanding them? Are you making demands? And people don't like that. Okay? We're dealing with adults. and people want to feel included. And so that can go very wrong for you very fast. Perhaps you've witnessed someone resolving a conflict, right? You've witnessed someone really getting in there, really resolving conflict, but because you don't have the framework for it, because you're just imitating them, you end up using the wrong language. You end up using the wrong words, same thing. You end up trying to justify, or you might overshare, which is a huge, huge thing that people do, a huge mistake people make, oversharing information, saying too much. And then you end up making the situation a lot worse, all because you are imitating someone. You don't have the framework for it, right? And so I just gave those two examples to show you that, yeah, it's okay to emulate, well, not emulate, it's okay to admire someone. It is okay to want to, admire skill in someone and want and have that desire to have that same behavioral trait in yourself, to build that skill in yourself. But it's not okay if you just imitate them, because you could be making it bad for yourself. And that's the danger of imitating someone, because when you imitate someone, you don't have a framework. Imitation is just action. It's devoid of, it's void, sorry, it's void of substance. There's nothing behind it. Okay? There's nothing behind it. And so you don't know why you say whatever. You don't have a history, you don't have context, sorry, not history, but you don't have context. All you're doing, my notes, all you're doing is imitating an action. You are you have a perception of why a particular thing works for someone that you admire. You don't take the time, you don't ask questions, you don't have a framework. So what you're really doing is uh, imitating a perception, and you add your own twist to it. Really, that's what you're doing, right? And so imitation is in as a leader is a bad thing. It is a bad thing unless it has some substance behind it, right? Because people will say, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it only works, only works if you understand why you're doing what you're doing. Here's an example. So I think there's this popular TED talk by this lady called Amy Cuddy. And she was talking about having more confidence. I think it was how persons could be more confident in meetings or just in general. And she spoke about this one, what she called a Wonder Woman pose, which is like this. You know how they stand like this. And she was, she in her talk she went through this research. She shared research of how persons, when they did this, they felt more confident. That's an example of faking it till you make it. Because I tried it and it worked. It did work. I was still nervous, but it takes some time. But that's an example of faking it till you make it. It only works if you know why. But if you, for example, were to be in a situation and you're, let's use the same example, you're putting your hand like this. Maybe you see a leader doing it, someone you admire doing this pose, the power pose they call it, or the Wonder Woman pose. You see them doing this pose. For you, this person always does this, and you go and you try that. Well, maybe what you're not understanding is when to use the pause, right? So maybe that person uses the pause in certain situations or when they say certain things. But you may use that pause when you're entering into a situation where it's a conflict. And if you do this in a conflict, then it sends the wrong message, right? It gives you a um you give off an ear of intimidation. Does this make sense? If it does, you can drop an emoji in the comment if it makes sense, right? So you have to be careful when you're imitating. What you need, what you need, and I'll wrap up shortly. What you need is a solid framework to help you on your leadership journey. You need the foundation, you need the basics, you need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, right? Um, I am, again, this is why I've, created the Communicate to Influence program. And this is why I created my platform, really, for growth and development, because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And so some people may just, take the easy way out, and they're looking and they're viewing, and, you know, they don't have the mechanics, they don't have the framework, they don't have the foundation as to why people do or behave that same way. And if you pick that up, then you could just very well um, create more of a distance between you and your team, especially when it comes to communicating, especially when it comes to communicating. Okay. I I've told this story before. Um, this I call it the croissant story. And it is as a leader, you have to know when to say and do certain things. And this was a mistake I made. And one day I was at work. I just come into work. Um, and I hadn't even put down my bags. And there was this employee who came and wanted to speak to me. And the first mistake I made was because I wanted to accommodate. I really hate, you know, to turn away employees, but I can't speak to everybody all day, every day. Um, because I have other stuff to do, right? And so she came in and she was quite upset and she wanted to speak. I hadn't put down my bags yet. And then what I should have done is said, "Hi, can you come back later?" I could have given her time. I could have asked her, give me a moment, let me get settled, that sort of thing. I didn't do that. So she came in behind me, the office, and I was the first one in the office. And I put down my bags, and she was telling me that she had been to the cafeteria for breakfast, and she had found a hair in beside one of the croissants, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, are you kidding me right now? Because I really thought it was something like major. But for her, it was major, right? For her, it was major. And she proceeded. I think what got me slightly annoyed was the fact that the way she communicated, um, the perception I got was that she was saying that it was deliberate. And I'm like, no, but it is not deliberate. And I said to her, haven't you ever, and this is where I made the mistake, right? I was like, haven't you ever done something at home and maybe there was here, like, and you're like, what? Where did this come from? Especially if you don't cover your hair, right? Like mistakes happen. These mistakes happen, right? If they've never happened to you, well, good for you. But these sometimes this happens, right? So she's like, I don't even remember what her response was, but anyway, she wasn't pleased. At the end of it, I said, okay, I'm gonna let them know. I'm gonna, but I'm sure it wasn't. My thing was, I was trying to convince her that it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't deliberate, like how she was, communicating. That's how it was coming across. Anyway, later on in that day, my boss approached me and she brought up the incident and she's like, the person was very upset. She didn't like your response. She was saying that, she wouldn't come back to she didn't feel comfortable coming back to HR. And I was like, why? Like I didn't say anything. Um, but she said to me, she said, yes, um, but what could you have done differently, right? What could you have done differently? And so I share this story because sometimes these are the mistakes we make in being. I know I'm talking about imitating, and maybe this is not um it's not an example where I imitated someone, but I'm sharing this story with you because I want you to see how very easily, as a new manager, you can really say and do things that destroy trust, right? And trust is important in your leadership journey. There's always something that you could do differently. And there was something that I could have done differently. Like I could have asked her to come back when I was more settled. I may or I may not, I don't know. I may not have said what I said, right? Because then I would be present. I would have been more tuned into her her frustration, and I may not have said that, right? But I didn't. I didn't do that. And then I proceeded to try to justify, right? Now, that's a mistake that a lot of new managers make. We try to justify and we try to do it because we think we are explaining, right? We think we're explaining stuff to the employees when sometimes, a lot of times, we just need to shut the hell up and listen, listen, take it all in, um, and respond differently. Thank them for the feedback, right? And it's just a simple story, but this is a lot of the times people make this mistake trying to justify. And so if you want to be influential, if you want to be a success, these are some of the things that you're going to have to learn. There are times that you are going to be so right. There are times you're right, but there's a difference in knowing you don't always have to say that you're right. You don't even have to sometimes explain, justify, sometimes you just have to know to take that in. And these are the types of things that we speak about building trust, um, communication, because there's so much layers to it. This is what I speak about. This is what I share with you when you work with me in the Communicator Influence program. So I wanted to share that story. It's a simple story. I've always remembered that story. Always remember it because there's always, even though you're right, or even though you have a particular situation, there's always something that you could do differently. And it taught me a valuable lesson that day, that sometimes you just need to just be quiet and take it in and don't justify. But if you are new in your leadership role, if you are just mimicking someone, right, you may use silence the wrong way. You may use being silent in the wrong situation, right? Because sometimes using silence is not always best. And so, um, in HR, you learn so much. You learn so much. You learn so much. Um, and I am grateful for that. So, you have the opportunity to work along with me one on one. I will help you develop that confidence um, within you and help you with your um, growth and development. So schedule your consultation, schedule your consultation call by going to the link in the bio. If you're on Facebook, I'm going to link it under this video, and put your mind to rest because you have someone that is experienced, who have seen many situations, who has been in many situations, and who have coached many situations, because that's what HR does. HR, you're coaching as well in HR. So um, I will. That's it. That's all I have for you this evening. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your patience. I know that I was a little bit late this evening, and I will. What's going to happen is next week. Next week is the final week. I'm going to be on live. I'm going to be on live from Monday to Thursday, and then I'll go back to my weekly Saturday chats with you. And so if you enjoyed this content, share it with a friend, or save it for when you need a little pick me up, or save it if you need to come back to this, because trust me, sometimes we listen to things. It happens to me. I listen to it once. By the time I'm listening on the second time, I'm getting um, another understanding, or another level of understanding, or another aha moment. And so, talk to you soon. Um, have a great weekend. Bye.